Hello, I want to thank you for clicking. I know it's a little strange. You're used to an email from me at some point every Thursday afternoon. Yeah, you got an email this time, but instead of getting John Dean's random thoughts for the week, you end up having this link. I want to explain what you're seeing right now. We don't get a chance to spend enough time together. We all come together at that August PD every year, and maybe we'll get together a second time at our November PD. But other than that, I really don't get a chance to talk to all of you as a collective group. And I thought it was the right time. It was the right time to have a group kind of this conversation for really because we have some new information. Being a superintendent is a little bit like being a teacher. And that as a teacher, you're always getting data about what's going on with your students. And as the superintendent, I see the same sort of thing, but I don't get data on a particular kid like Timmy or Susie. I see data for the whole school district. And this coming Monday, we're going to be sharing 3 specific data sources with our Board of Education and our community at large. And I thought it was really the right thing to do to share that data with you first. So today, in this brief 10-minute video, I'm going to share with you some of the top line data that we'll be sharing with the board on Monday. If you want more information, you're welcome to watch the board meeting on Monday. Or you can click the links inside of the email you received from me that has the more detailed information if you're like a detail person. But for right now, I'm going to walk you through a brief overview of the data that we're sharing with our Board of Education. And just so you know, we're also sharing this with our community via another one of these videos. And in the link below the one you just clicked, I'm giving you the community one as well, so that you can see it as well, just in case you want to watch me a second time. Not that anyone wants to do that, but if you do, you can see it a second time and see what I talk about with the community. So at that point, I'm going to start giving you this update of our data. The state of Michigan requires us to provide a learning loss update to our community. Learning loss, and we know this, is what our students experienced during the pandemic because of remote learning and the interruption that the pandemic caused to their lives. The pandemic was a real thing. It impacted people significantly, including our students, as of course our staff. And the state of Michigan is requiring us to provide the community an update of how our students fared during the pandemic and then what we're doing about it. So we took a look at our benchmark assessment approved by the state of Michigan, which is NWEA, for our students in grades kindergarten through 8th grade. And we compared the data from spring of 2019, before the pandemic, with this most recent spring of 2022. Nationally, and this isn't surprising, students did worse on the NWEA when you compare those 2 time periods. In reading, typically 6 points worse, and in math, approximately 9 points worse. Interestingly, our students were a little bit different. Our 3rd, 4th, and 7th graders in the area of reading actually had an increase or an improvement in their NWEA scores from 2019 to 2022. Our 5th, 6th, and 8th graders in the area of reading had a decrease, but it was a decrease less than the average decrease across the nation. In math, our students in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grades actually had an improvement relative to 2019. And in 7th and 8th, while they had a decrease, it was less than the national decrease. So what does that mean if I step way back? This doesn't have anything to do with me. It has a lot to do with you. It means that even during a pandemic, on our nationally normed assessment, our students continue to do better work in most cases. And in the cases when they didn't, they actually still did better than the national average. Some of you might be wondering, well, where's the K through 2 data? Because yes, our students in K through 2 do take the NWEA. Well, NWEA hasn't provided nationally normed data for 2022. So in the longer presentation that you can click into from our board meeting on Monday, it'll list the K1 and 2 data. But for today, I just gave you the grades 3 through 8 because we actually have a nationalized comparison. Big picture, our students are learning. I'm not surprised, but I feel really good about it, and you should too. Of course, one of the data points that we pay the most attention to is student enrollment. And there's a couple of reasons for that, but the first reason is, frankly, in this community, people can vote with their feet, and they should. They have an opportunity many of our families have an opportunity to enroll their kids in our public schools or make other choices. And so we're always paying attention to, what do our enrollment numbers tell us? Well, we don't exactly know our fall enrollment, because as you know, as staff members, we have 4th Wednesday count coming up. And we have a multiple week period after that to actually do some detail level work. So we don't have our completed student count yet. We won't until the beginning of November. But we do have an idea of what our enrollment looks like right now, and I wanted to share it with you. So, and bear with me, I'm a math teacher. I'm going to give you some numbers for a second. Last year, we had 6,610 students in the fall. Now that's FTE. We actually had more human being students than that, but FTE counts all the pieces of students that we might have that might be coming or going to alternate programming. Well, we hire a demographer to give us an enrollment projection, and they projected that for this school year, we would lose 135 students. Where are we today? Around 6,500 kids. Why do I say around? Because I don't exactly know. Until we do that detailed dig of having fourth Wednesday count, we won't have that information. But I do want to show you this next slide because there's something interesting happening here. So last year, we graduated 634 students that walked across the stage at North and South. We only have 439 kindergartners this year. That's about what the demographers told us we would have. Why do we have fewer kindergartners than seniors? That's a function of birth rate. Did you know that the students that we're having in kindergarten right now that were born in 2017, 2018 were one of the smallest birth years for Wayne County residents in recorded history? So while our percentage of kindergartners we get is actually increasing, the pie is shrinking. And that's why we end up having 195 kids less seniors to kindergartners. That's not surprising to us. We knew that was coming, and it's been happening and will probably continue for a period of time longer. But here's the interesting thing. Here's the thing that stuck out to me that I want this to stick with you. If you look at last year's kids in kindergarten through 11th grade, and I'm picking those grades because we still have those kids. This year, there are first through 12th graders. So I'm talking about the kids that were last year third graders and this year's fourth graders, or maybe last year's seventh graders and this year's eighth graders. We have 125 more of them. Dramatic pause. We had 125 people choose our school district to come into our district amongst our kids that were already enrolled with us. That's 125 more kids than we had before. That means that 125 kids and their families chose us. And they did not choose me. They chose you. They came here because of the curriculum, the amazing instruction you provide, the buildings that you keep updated. They chose you, and I want you to feel good about that. Do we still have enrollment declines because we have so many seniors and so few kindergartners? Yes. But the number that I'm paying the most attention to, and I encourage you to, is the number of people that choose us. At the end of the day, our final enrollment relative to projection will be somewhere around our projected number, somewhere probably a little better than projection. So we put a range in there of somewhere between down 15 to 65 to the good. We'll see. I hope it's 65 to the good. That's not a promise. But I do think we're going to be in good shape here, and that 125 number is powerful. Another thing that we do every year is every spring we survey the staff. And we ask the staff generally the same sets of questions so we can compare them. And we ask them what their experience is like working in the Grosse Pointe Public Schools. So first, a big thank you. More of you took the survey last spring than the preceding spring. 54% of you took the survey, and I really appreciate it. What does that survey say to us? It says a lot of details, and there is a detailed document linked into the email I just sent you, okay? But here's a couple of the top line things that caught my eye. I'd like to know what catches your eye, and if you want to, reach out to me and tell me. We had a 10% increase in the number of 10% increase in our number of staff that would recommend to someone who doesn't work here that they should work here. That's good. Not good enough, but it's an improvement. And kind of like I said, I feel like a teacher sometimes as the superintendent, just like you in your classroom, you're looking for what does growth look like. That is growth. We had a 16% increase in the percentage of you that said we're headed in the right direction. It's not enough yet, but it's in the right direction. And one of the things that we've paid particular attention the last year, I heard it loud and clear from staffs when I met with them in that first May when I was appointed superintendent, is you wanted better and more communication. We've worked really hard at that. You received those Tuesday emails from our communications team with updates from the district. You get school points every Friday. And from me, you get that kind of random John Dean thoughts on Thursday. And I think those things are paying off because we can see the percentage of you that feel our communication is going in the right direction improved. Couple other key takeaways. We had an increase in the percentage of you that felt that you had agency inside of your work. That's a great thing. And we've seen a continued increase in the percentage of you that feel like we're fiscally stable. And that's true, we are fiscally stable, and we're happy to see that that's being recognized. Now, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. I know that, all right? There are still things we have to work on. We heard loud and clear from you that last year was hard when it came to working with our kids, not because our kids are bad, but because the pandemic impacted them. And some of them forgot how to do school. So we saw inside the data that student discipline is a concern. That's something that we knew without even seeing the data. And that's why this summer, in many of our buildings, actually all of our buildings, we were intentional about making sure we focused on our attendance and tardy practices, as well as our student behavior practices. Anecdotally, and from the initial data from these first 5 weeks, I think it's working, everybody. I think we're doing good work. But we do know, based on that survey data, it's a concern. And then, of course, and this is something we can always do better, and we need to continue to do better, is getting more voice from our teachers in the decisions we make. Last thing, we sent a survey to all of our community members. And this survey, I want you to know about, because it's not a survey about me, it's a survey about us. We saw a significant increase from our community in participation, and a real increase in the participation of community members that don't have kids in our district. And guess what? We had a 13% increase in our percentage of our community that give us a grade of an A or a B. You should feel good about that. That's a result of your work. Please feel good about that. We asked a series of other questions about your kids' experience at school. Do they feel safe? All those sorts of things. And across the board, we saw increases and improvements from our community. They gave us grades, everybody, and our grades are better this year. And that's because of the work you're doing. And I want to thank you for that. That's it. That's all there is for me. If you've got thoughts or comments, shoot me an email. If you want to debrief personally with me about this, call 3004. Let me know what time I can come by your classroom. I'll be happy to. Keep up the good work. All three of these metrics are telling you, us, the same thing. We are a great school district. We're getting better, and people are happy here. We can be better, but we are heading in the right direction. Thank you very much.